So let's talk about the connection between guns and the number of people who have taken their own lives with them. We take a look at why it's so important to read beyond the headlines, because it's not so simple, and Colorado is an example of that. Here's Anusha Roy.
The Kaiser Family Foundation poses an important question. Do states with easier access to guns have more suicide deaths by firearm? Their study shows over half of all suicides involve a gun. 2 times as many suicides involving a gun happen in states with the fewest gun laws. But the study itself said it's not necessarily a direct connection.
Colorado is a complicated state with a high suicide rate, forever. Gun regulation is relatively new.
Colorado is 7th in the nation for suicide rates, but top 20 with gun rules and regulations. The Kaiser study counting 30, making us an anomaly. The first thing that comes to 2 experts' minds is the state's geography.
An intermountain western state.
The higher rate of suicide in those rural and frontier communities, feelings of isolation and disconnectedness.
Then culture kept coming up during our conversation.
Rugged, individualist kind of culture where people, at least feel like they should be taking care of themselves.
Guns have been present as part of people's lives for generations. So any recent gun legislation over the course of the past decade doesn't really impact the availability of guns in communities that have had guns in families for generations.
All reasons Colorado doesn't fit the trend. In fact, Dr. Allen is playing down the correlation even more.
I think where we may begin to see a correlation is around extreme risk protection orders.
But where it does become a risk factor is how lethal it can be.
One piece of the conversation.
So why the suicide rate here has historically and is still so high? There's so many factors and layers to it. It has to do with stigma, stopping people from getting help. And then there is that big hurdle. Can you find help in time, which Colorado is working on, but is definitely a work in progress because of all of those different intersecting factors that have to be taken into account.
I caught on the guns have existed for generations for some families, so what you see at the state legislature won't trickle down.
Right.
In the immediacy.
Exactly.
So, it's got to be broader than that?
Yeah, it has to be, right? Because that legislation is for future guns that are bought, not the ones that are already in homes here in Colorado. And so you have to look at it holistically. Dr. Allen said that he's actually specifically focusing on gun safety. How do you talk about that well before a moment of crisis? You see 988 being set up to help with access and making it easier to get help. And a big part of it is just going to be beefing up those resources.
I know there was some talk at the legislature, there have been some bills passed, become law, about gun safety, locking them up, but it was more about penalizing someone for not reporting it or if it's stolen.
Exactly.
But the idea, lock it up, maybe we won't have conversations like this.
Exactly.
Thanks, Anusha.